So, this is attempt number 1 at making a podcast, I guess. Okay, so goal of this is to talk about lead sources. So one of the primary lead sources that I've relied on, especially early on, right, because that's what I'm aiming this to be at, is for somebody to watch this at an early point, early in their career. But even if you're later on in the career, hopefully there's some value that you get out of this. But lead sources, primarily open houses. And so kind of wanted to try to make a video to talk about open houses, how to do them, what's the best way to do it, right? So diving right into it, there's really 3 sections, I guess you can call them, that you would break it up into as far as steps to successfully hosting an open house, right? There's before it, right? The advertising, choosing the open house, the marketing efforts, all those kind of things. So that's before the open house. During the open house, what to say, how to greet clients, how to stock things, what to have there. And then after the open house, which is honestly the most important piece, which is the follow-up. That's where your money is going to be returned to you, or your time, whatever it is that you're investing into the open house, right? So starting with section 1, essentially the step 1, which is before the open house, right? So the first and foremost is the open house itself, the house. Which one are you going to do? A lot of times people are like, well, I don't have any listings. Well, it doesn't have to be your listing in order to do the open house. You can lean on your brokerage. My brokerage personally has like 100 or so listings. We're primarily a luxury listing brokerage anyway, so we happen to have nicer, higher end listings, so I don't even use my own listings to do open houses at. Now, if your brokerage doesn't have a lot of listings, you can try leading on for sale by owners. You can offer them one-day listing agreements. You can offer them just buyer brokerage agreements that say, hey, if I bring you a buyer, will you pay me a commission to sell this open house? Honestly, you probably won't even sell that open house, the house that you're going to do the open house at anyway, so you might as well, you could do it at a for sale by owner for free anyways, just to show them that you're dedicated to helping them as well as helping yourself. Just be completely transparent with the seller to say, hey, Mr. Seller, look, I understand that you're not willing to work with an agent. However, I do want to market your home to show you that I am a good agent and I do work hard, whatever you want to phrase it. And let them know that you're actually interested in this because it benefits you. You generate buyers, right? So, like I said, the house itself, right? So, first off, the objective that people say, I don't have a house I can do it at. There's 3 different options that you can get one, right? Okay, now the house that you choose, try to be a little bit more strategic about it. When I was new to the industry, I just did open houses. Anytime somebody would ask me to do an open house, I'd just do it, right? Anytime I could find a listing, I would do it. But over time, I kind of figured out what has a better turnout rate, right? Where are areas where more people tend to turn out? So first off, price point, right? If you do an open house at a house that's very high in the luxury market, wherever you're watching this in our marketplace, $700,000-$800,000 homes are not something that's going to attract a lot of traffic to. So it probably doesn't make sense for me to do a lot of open houses there. Yeah, it'd be great if I could generate a buyer for something like that, but the likelihood of it's very low. Versus the bread and butter of our marketplace, which is like 150 to 350 in that range, primarily like the 250 to 350 range. Choose homes that are in better neighborhoods, that are closer in town, that are on major roads, right? So pick newer listings that have been on the market not more than a week and things like that. Try to work with listing agents in your office to say, hey, if you guys are interested, you can co-host an open house and don't hold any showings for that new listing until you do that open house, to try to drive buyers into the open house, right? So that's all secondary, but primarily what we're talking about in step 1 is first off just choosing the house, right? We're talking about which house to pick. So pick something that's close inside the city, near major roads, newer on the market, and that's in that bread and butter price point, okay? So perfect. So you've got your open house. Now you know which house you're going to do it. What's next, right? So you probably want to start advertising the open house as far in advance as you possibly can, okay? And I like to do what I do if I'm doing open houses, I do them every weekend, right, on Saturdays and Sundays. So Monday when I go in the office, I walk around my office and talk to all the agents and set mine up on Monday, essentially, to get them advertising then on. I'm going to start as far in advance, right? But what are you going to market? So first and foremost, put it in the MLS. That's where Zillow, Realtor.com, and all these other sites are going to get their open house information. They like agents. They're going to send the buyers notifications that says, hey, this home that fits your criteria, that's having an open house this weekend. And then that's free advertising. You don't have to pay for any of that. You just need to go into the technology, utilize the technology that's there for us, and update it in the MLS. That does not only go to agents. A lot of people think that if they put it in the MLS, it's only advertising to other agents. But no, that's actually going to Zillow and all these other places too. All right, so do that. Now, there are a lot of other marketing methods that you can do, but this entirely depends on two main things. One, your budget, and two, your commitment to the open house that you're doing. So like there's a lot of people out there that preach doing mega open houses. I totally preach that too. However, I just don't do them. I like doing, instead of doing a mega open house once a month, I like to do maybe 3-4 open houses every week, so to speak. So like high consistency, so it's like a steady influx of leads, essentially, because that's what it is. It's a lead generation source. So like we said, time commitment and money too, is in how much are you willing to spend for the open house. Money wise, you can buy Facebook ads, you can send letters out in the mail to the neighborhood or to apartment complexes, things like that. Or you can do things like circle prospecting. The house that you're going to be doing the open house at, call around the neighborhood. That's going to help get anybody that's interested in selling or wanting to even just know what their neighbor's house looks like in through your door, because now they're going to know that there's an opportunity out there, and it just gives you a chance to get in touch with them. You're not prospecting them, you're calling them to invite them to something, right? So it's like you're not asking them for anything. So that's kind of the check side of things, as well as the sweat side of things as far as check equity, sweat equity goes. You can also do email, right? I use a CRM, Boomtown. In it, I can basically send mass emails to anybody. You can do the same thing through Excel, MailChimp. Put it on Facebook for free. You can organically get thousands of viewers. Honestly, you need to have done this regardless of whether or not you do an open house. But if you're going to be on Facebook, if you're looking at it as a lead source, right? If you're looking at it as a business tool, not a personal tool, you need to go ahead and add yourself to as many of the community groups that you can add yourself to. That's like your local area buy and sell, any neighborhood HOAs, any PTSAs, any schools, any sports teams, any certain community groups that are there. Like here we have like a nursing association, an entrepreneurship association, the Chamber of Commerce, Leadership Gainesville. So like all these different organizations, you want to be on their groups, right? And then certain groups that are out there, I know there are in my marketplace, so there's got to be some in yours too, are places where it's basically just a large bulletin board for people to just post information. Like ours is Gainesville Word of Mouth. It's more so for just experiences and things in Gainesville, but they also have a fan page Friday where if you're a business owner, you get to post something about your business in that place. So these are the places where you can post about your open house, right? Be careful about it, because there are a lot of people out there or a lot of groups out there that don't want just marketing pieces plastered all over the place. So make sure you do read the group guidelines, but there are some out there that'll let you do that. On top of that, you should already have a business page for your group, share it on there, make an event, and invite everybody in your friends list if you want to. So that's free Facebook ways that you could share your place. So right now you have, for free, you know how to pick an open house, how you're going to market it, and how you're going to get in front of not just like a couple people, you're going to get in front of thousands of people if you utilize Facebook the right way, for free. Thousands of people for free. Keep having to stress that. Anyways, so you marketed your open house, it's coming up, your open house is on Saturday, it's Thursday night, you're ready to roll. You're probably going to want to put signs out Friday night if possible. I preach that. I don't do it. I put them out on Saturday morning or right before the open house. However, the main reason I don't do that is because I don't have signs that say Saturday 10 to 11 or whatever. That's another thing. Okay, so open house signs. You can't have 5. If you've got 5 open house signs, you don't have enough signs. If you've got 10 open house signs, you still don't have enough open house signs, okay? At the height of my open house game, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, I had 100 signs, and I was using probably 20 to 40 signs every single open house, right? You put 10 on the main road, 2 at each turn, 3 in front of the house, 2 by the front door, right? And that's just the simple numbers that I had, right? They're a simple plan that I use for each and every open house. It was the same number of signs that go on every open house, right? You do want to be careful. I've gotten in trouble once or twice with the city saying that I've plastered their main roads, and I'm not allowed to do that, but better to ask forgiveness, not permission in my book. Signs. You need to buy signs. There's a great website called signsonthecheap.com. Free plug for them right now, but I paid like, I think $7-8 per sign. So if you're getting 20 signs, it's an investment, but it's going to give you a return. These are great. These are a great lead source. So you get the signs, you put the signs out, right? Like I said, you want to put more on the main roads, and then 2 at every turn. And I like to put 3 out in front of the house and 2 in front of the front door. That's my strategy. Obviously, you could put however many you want to put out. The more the open house signs, the more likely you are to attract somebody. used to not believe that, but then I had a sign-in sheet and I tracked where the leads were coming in from, and I found out the more signs I put out, the more people that actually showed up. So like that is actually something that works. It's not something I've been told, that's something I've like actually experienced, so I know that to be true, at least in my marketplace. All right, so that's pretty much leading up to the open house. You figured out what house you're going to pick, how you're going to market it, right? You figured out your setup for it, essentially getting the signs out, making sure that it's up there and ready. Now you're at the open house, right? Rewinding just a little bit, right? Before you get out there, you need to have materials prepared, okay? And the main things that I like to make sure that I always have at the open house is one, a sign-in sheet. If you can get an iPad, if you can get it digitally, that's going to be way better for the customer and for you, because your experience is going to be nicer. It's technology. People just kind of think that it's a more official open house if you get an iPad there. But if you also, it's also better for handwriting. When people handwrite, it's so difficult for me to read some of that chicken scratch that they write on that freaking piece of paper. So you want to try to get it in digital if possible, okay? But if you can't, whatever. Let's just say you got it on paper, right, or just a regular sign-in sheet. So you got to have a sign-in sheet. You're going to want to have like customer copies of the listing that you're at, and I print out the free MLS versions, right, the one that just comes out, it's a generic made one. However, my office supplies us with great templates that you can get for free from Canva that are just like really nice marketing pieces, and they just look a lot more modern and fresh and different, other than just the generic regular text with one picture and a bunch of like numbers. You know what I mean? Just looks more aesthetically appealing. So you can get those, again, free. You want to have handouts, paper that's providing them value, okay? So things like, so a lot of people that come to open houses are first-time home buyers, right? They're not really sure what they're looking for in home. They're not sure about the process. They see an open house, it's free to go check it out. Let's go see a house, right? So I put a lot of first-time home buyer information out in my open houses. So I'll put flyers like a checklist, like a to-do list, like they have items like note sheets where you can kind of write down notes and questions about the houses. It's just like a cool little sheet. I get all of my marketing materials, again, for free through floridarealtors.org, okay? So you can use their website. They've got free handouts over there. The National Association of Realtors has free handouts as well. If you look up your state's realtor organization, I'm sure they have free handouts. You don't have to pay for this stuff. It's free. You just got to go find them. What I like to do is take that, put it on Canva, put my logo on it at the bottom, and say, if you have questions, give me a call. So that way, all the sheets, everything's got to be consistent, but all of the sheets are going to have my contact information at the bottom of it should they have any questions at all about any of the information on it, right? So we talk about first-time home buyer stuff. You want to have to-do lists, things like that. Lending, financing is always a huge question. So it's great if you can pair with a lender that can actually give you mortgage numbers that says, hey, okay, at 3.5% down, at 10% down, at 20% down, here's what your finances, where your mortgage payment would look like if you were to purchase this house at the current list price. So it'd be really great if you can get those. However, I know that those are kind of work on the lender side, and if you don't have a good relationship with somebody, they may not necessarily be wanting to do that for you. Just get information about their loan programs that they offer, USDA, VA, FHA, portfolio loans, whatever the kind of loans that are applicable to that house. Try to keep some information at the home right there. So, A, you can reference it. Hopefully you should be knowledgeable on it too, but if they have questions about the financing, they can refer to that sheet. This is also a great opportunity for you, again, we just kind of talked about it, but to pair with a lender. This is great marketing for them. They don't have to do anything. This is something that their marketing department will give them to you for free, right? But it gets their name out into your open houses. You can charge them for this kind of a service. And I'm not talking about money like, have them pay you, whatever, $30, $50. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about they can bring food to the open house. They can also be there with you. Charge them in the sense of have them do something for you as well, because you're actually going to be helping them in the long run. Ideally, they should be a fruitful relationship, and you can also leverage some of their time and their resources as well to make this a little bit more beneficial. So pair with a lender with it. It's going to make the whole process a lot easier. Right now, so that's kind of like the main sheets. I have, I think, 9 or 10 different sheets that I bring with me, flyers, basically, like different kinds. I use the ones that I always have, lending, first-time home buying. Right now, I've got one that's the top 10 apps that home buyers are using to shop. So one of them's like this cool. It lets you measure things in the room through the phone camera itself. Somehow it's got the perspective. I don't know how it does it, but it's super cool. A couple different Zillow alternative home searching apps. A couple different apps that talk about school zones and crime rates and things like that. So just a really unique piece of paper. It's relevant right now. Apps and technology. I'm working a lot of millennials is really my demographic, right? So I have that. I have I have a flyer as well that talks about, the different upgrades that you can make in a home. So this one I primarily use whenever I'm in outdated homes or homes that are kind of like fixer-uppers that may have some work that needs to be done to them, right? There's a flyer that talks about which renovation projects give you what return. And I pair that with the flyer that talks about the age of appliances. And it's great. It's really, really cool. It just shows them, okay, for every $1 you invest in the roof, you can probably get $1.70 back in our marketplace. Again, this is relevant and accurate data, right? Not just national information. Again, for free. I don't know how I can stress that enough, that this stuff is all free. You just got to go look for it, right? So pair that information with the house that needs a little bit of work. These are just ways for, again, you as the agent to make sure that this open house is full of value and opportunity for the customer when they walk in. Actives that are nearby that fit that home's like specific criteria or that are in the neighborhood. That way if somebody's in the home saying, oh, I really like this, but I wish it had a pool. Oh, well, did you actually know the two blocks down, there's this house right here. Let me tell you some information about it. Did you want to go see it after the open house, right? So you can use that as an opportunity to bring these buyers that are coming in, to bring them into seeing other homes. A lot of people have this misconception that the open house that you're hosting, you're trying to sell that house. So that can be your goal if that's what your goal is when you go into that house. However, I never make that my intention. I'm primarily looking at this as a buyer lead generation source. I'm not really expecting to sell this house. I honestly don't really care about selling the house. I care about the buyer that's coming in, what they're looking for, what their timeline is like. We're looking to generate buyers that are going to look for other homes, likely not this house in particular. In my 3 years of doing hundreds of open houses, I haven't sold a single house that I did the open house at. That's something you want to have at the open house. When you get there, you want to get there maybe 15, 20 minutes early if possible. Your sign should have been set up a little bit earlier already. And a little bit of rain here. I'm driving to Tampa right now to go see my family. You gotta have balance in real estate, right? You make your own schedule, so I'm going to where I want. Anyways, so get there, you want to set everything up. I try to keep all the papers and flyers, specifically the sign-in sheet, as close to the front door or the garage door or wherever the clients are primarily going to be, like the front access to the home is going to be. Coming down. Try to keep the flyers as close to that as possible, okay? So set it all up, go through the home, turn on all the lights. You want to make sure that it's clean. If there's people living there, make sure all their personal items are put away, put all the photos down. You don't want it to look super personal. Make sure that before you're out there, you remind the homeowner or the listing leads that they remind the homeowner, but all private, personal items and expensive items, things like that, valuables, just put them all away, right? And you want the home, like I said, to look as clean, pretty as possible. And that's why you want to get there a little bit earlier, because if the seller, the owner, didn't do as good of a job, you've got an opportunity to go ahead and tidy up just a little bit as well. Now you just wait, right? Just wait for people to come inside the open house. This is a great opportunity for you to bring your laptop. If the owners want to give you the Wi-Fi password, hook into their Wi-Fi, do some work. I like to bring a book you can read. I like to bring my Netflix on my phone. I sometimes watch some TV while I'm out there. This is essentially just time now that you've prepped up. Now you're just gonna wait for somebody to come walking through the door, basically, right? It's almost like fishing. You put your hook out in the water, and you're just waiting for the fish to bite, right? And lo and behold, somebody's knocking on the door. Oh my God, we gotta leave. Somebody's coming in. So they open the door. Typically, I greet them. Hello, hi, nice to meet you. My name's Mustafa. Thanks for coming in. I normally bring them in, and then what I like to do is stand right there with them as I introduce them. Shake my hand, and then walk them over to the sign-in sheet. Okay, right here's the sign-in sheet. That's the only thing I have to have you fill out. There's a ton of flyers next to it as well. Feel free to grab any of those. Right? Okay, so I introduce myself, walk them over. Now I've got them sitting right in front of the sign-in sheet, telling them that's the only thing I have to have them fill out, right? Ideally, they'll be filling it out right then and there. While they're doing it, I like to ask them some questions about, okay, how did you find us? Did you see us online? I like to ask them, is this house number one? Have you seen any other homes today? And then normally I don't really ask them too many questions. Once they've signed in, right? This is my tactic, right? But once they've signed in, the objective for my open house is pretty much complete. All I'm really looking for is a name and a phone number, and all I'm looking for outside of that is to let the person know now that piece of the open house is done, my only objective from now until the end of the open house is to make sure that they understand before they leave that at some point during the next few days, I'll be following up with them. That's it. Okay? And so once I've seen them fill it out, all right, great, well, I'm going to be hanging out in the living room over there, or the kitchen, or the dining room, wherever you're going to be hanging out with your book or your TV or whatever. If you guys have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to give me a shout, right? Let them go explore the house. Now, you can do that or just to show you that this really doesn't have to be this like rigid plan, right? You can be free form, you can kind of spice it up, do things one way with one client, another way with the other client, experiment, see what works better for your style and the way you handle situations. You can do it that way, or you can say, all right, well, before I let you guys free or let you guys loose, however you want to phrase it, all right? Let me just give you a brief breakdown. Master bedroom's right over there. It's got a gorgeous kitchen, or gorgeous, dual sink bathroom, whatever you want to say. Pulls out through the sliding doors, garage doors this way, and 2 bedrooms are downstairs over there. Whatever you want to say, right? Give them kind of a brief layout of the place. If you want to walk them just down to the hallway or wherever direction they want to go in, let them do that. And then I do like to at least give them their space, let them explore, right? They don't know you. They didn't know you were going to be there ideally. They were just coming in to see a house. They're not here to see you. You want to give them their space, let them go explore and find the value. You've already shown them there are a ton of flyers. You've already provided them a ton of information up front. And now you're going to go ahead and let them take a look at the place so that they can determine whether or not this is a good fit for them, right? Give them a little bit of time. Why wait till they've actually seen the entire open house before I reapproach them to say, okay, what do you guys think? Did you guys see everything? Oh yeah, we liked it, we didn't like this, or we did like that. Oh, well, that's great. Asking probing questions about, okay, good. So does this fit what you guys are looking for? So you want to try to figure out more information about what they're looking for by asking feedback about the house. The way you're going to do that. Okay, so what did you think of the bedrooms? Were they a good size? Oh, they're good. Is that kind of what you guys are looking for? Did you want something smaller, right? Okay, what about the garage and the yard space? Were you guys looking for like a half acre or something bigger than that, right? So, and keep the objectives in your mind. This is supposed to be just a conversation about the house that they are just previewing. You're just trying to get some feedback. You're not trying to sell them on anything, right? Through that, build a little bit of rapport. Now, the conversation can go one of 2 ways at this point, right? They can typically they're done with the open house and they're ready to wrap up. They're ready to leave. They're not interested in pursuing any sort of conversation with you, right? Which people, I feel like, freak out in that situation because they feel like they're losing the lead, but you haven't lost the lead, right? I'll talk about it in a little bit. But at this point, right, if they're ready to let's just kind of go and you can kind of get that vibe from them. All right, well, great. Well, thank you guys so much for stopping by. I've got your information. I'll follow up with you in a couple days. If they've picked up any of the flyers, my number's at the bottom of any of those. If you have any questions about anything, just let me know, okay? Thanks. Have a good day. And, whatever, they walk out. So that's one way of handling a situation. Or in the other direction, you can, if there seems to be going well, you're building a lot of rapport, you can talk to them a little bit, dig a little bit deeper. Okay, so have you guys seen any homes in person or with an agent at all? Okay, you have? Okay, well, did you have any commitments to anybody in particular? I don't want to step on anyone's toes. Yeah, they do? Well, that's perfect. What's their name? I'm sure they'll take great care of you. I find that realtors in my marketplace really respect the fact that if one of their clients walks into an open house, I call them to notify them to say, hey, Joe, your client Ann walked into 123 Banana Street, and she happened to really like the kitchen. She said that she was looking for something a little bit more updated. I don't know if you know that information, but just want to let you know she stopped by and she was interested in such and such, right? So they really like that. Also helps build our relationship with them, so they value you as a more professional, and then the client doesn't feel pushed or in any way like that too. There's people out there that say you should be a shark, you should try to take all those situations. Personally, I don't operate that way. However, this is your business. You do however you want to do it. Anyways, so maybe they don't have a realtor, okay? And if they don't, well, no, we haven't seen any homes. Oh, great. Well, I can think of a couple neighborhoods. I have very good knowledge of neighborhoods and kind of their basic home criteria that fit each of the neighborhoods in and around Gainesville. I have to be really good at that. I've spent a lot of time learning that. That's something I would advise you to do as well, because the tactic that I use here is I talk to them about I've talked to them about what they're looking for. They want a half-acre pool home under 300 in the southwest side of Gainesville. Well, there's a beautiful neighborhood called Hammock Ridge that happens to fit all of those criteria. They're on 1-acre lots. There's a lot of more fence. There's low HOA. Pool homes are out there. There's some that have detached homes as well. I think it would be a great fit. There's actually one up for sale right now that I happen to know about. Maybe you don't know, but let me take a look. And why don't we set up a showing to go take a look? That I've got your number. I'll follow up with you during the week, right? That's the way to have that conversation and try to get them to essentially make a commitment to. That's the way to get them to seeing more homes with you, right? So that side of things, the way that working out, they're being like, oh yeah, we haven't seen a home, we actually don't have a realtor. That happens, but not very often. More often than not, the first situation that I laid out for you happens where they've seen the home, they're pretty much ready to dip, they don't want to talk to you, right? So okay, that's totally fine. That don't feel discouraged in this moment. that's where I feel like a lot of people they get turned off to open houses, right? Like I talked about before, the main objective for my open houses, and should be for yours if you want to be successful at it, is that you just want to get their contact information, right? I like to think of open houses as a lead source just like Zillow is a lead source, right? And Zillow, you're paying for leads. These are leads that are clicking on some website that may want some information, may not even know that they clicked. They don't know who's contacting them. There's some random number calling them, and sometimes they're at work or whatever, right? So Zillow it is a good lead source. You pay thousands of dollars for it, and you do actually see a return. But in the situation that I'm outlining in front of you right now, you were sitting at an open house where a person with a face came in, ideally shook your hand, talked to you about what they were looking for. You built some sort of rapport, or at least they got a chance to know about you as an agent and how you would handle them, right? That is just such a higher quality lead than what you're getting at Zillow. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying the objective has been completed once you've had a chance to shake their hands and they've had a chance to sign in. You now have had as much information as you did from Zillow, right? Now, from that point on, right, with the flyers, with allowing them to see the open house, answering any questions they have, being not pushy, being relationship based, right? Not pushing them to buy that house or go see more homes or do any sort of commitment at that open house has only built positive rapport with them in their minds. So now when you call them tomorrow or the next day, right, it's going to be a lot more positive of a phone call. They're going to maybe not know your phone number, but when they answer, they're going to recognize you and associate you with the positive thoughts as opposed to not knowing anything at all. It's just a much better call, essentially. But we're going to talk about the follow-up in a minute. So don't get discouraged if the client just wants to leave. All they need to know is that you're going to follow up with them later in the week, okay? Once the open house is done, pick up the signs, make sure all the lights are off, lock up, whatever. That's simple information. I always like to, again, to benefit the agents, to be recognized as a professional in my marketplace, to be highly regarded in my marketplace. I like to provide feedback to the listing agent, whoever it was. Say, hey, did the open house, such and such people came by. I'm really good with feedback. I personally am, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm really proud of my feedback. I happen to give options for certain things, like, hey, there's a lot of cockroaches, maybe suggest to the seller they have some pest control guy come out. I happen to have some questions about how much it would cost to fence the property. I don't know if you guys can do it, but maybe you can print out some quotes, get a quote from a fencer, and either put it in the description in the MLS listing or provide some flyers to leave at the open house so they understand it, right? Things like that. Provide the agent feedback. Again, that's going to help you, not necessarily in the open house game as far as lead sources goes, but it's just going to help you in the marketplace as an agent overall, because then that agent will know that you are a professional and you can't be taken seriously, right? More motivated to work with you should you bring them an offer or whatever. So done, open house, send them the feedback. Phase 1, phase 2 complete. You're a rock star right now. You're crushing it. If you've done all this stuff so far, you're doing really, really good. Okay? The follow-up. The money is made in the follow-up, baby. That's where all the stuff comes worth it, right? So the day that you are done with the open house, ideally, you get back to the computer, you plug all that stuff back into your CRM, your database, whatever you're using to keep in touch with everybody or keep track of all the leads that you get. You should have a CRM, if I haven't said that already. I use Boomtown, so put them in a Boomtown. Either the next day, which is Sunday, or the following day, Monday, because I normally do open houses Saturdays and Sundays. Then the next day or two, I give them a call, right? Give them a call, a text, and an email. In the call, if they don't answer, most of the time they don't answer because they don't know the number, right? You leave them a voicemail, hey, such and such, it's Mustafa from Pepin. We met at the open house this past weekend. I just want to follow up. Thank you for stopping by. And then I also wanted to see if there was anything in particular that I could help you with, or if you don't like saying that because it's kind of like a salesy thing, I just wanted to ask you a real quick question. Okay, it's more like, oh, what's he gonna ask? Go ahead, give him a call back, right? So that's one way to leave them a voicemail. If they answer, okay, well, hey, good job, you got somebody on the phone, right? Hey, so-and-so, my name is Mustafa. We met at the open house this past weekend. Just want to thank you for stopping by. I wanted to follow up with you to kind of see what your situation was and see how I could help. Oh, well, thank you for calling. I'm probably 6 months out, man, from looking. Oh, well, great. Well, let me put you on my list. I'll be sure to call you once a month in the meantime. I know you told me you were looking for this, and this. I can send you some emails if you like, maybe once a month, once a week, whatever you want. There's better ways to phrase it. Paraphrasing for you right now, but here is an opportunity where you can offer to send them regular emails based on what they have. The tagline with it is that so you can keep a pulse on the market. You want to fit that in there at some point. So, I understand you're looking 6 months out. That's totally fine. I've got your email that you left me. I know you told me you were looking at 3.2 pool homes under 400. Why don't I just go ahead and set you up? I'll send you emails twice a week if that's good with you. That way you can kind of just keep a pulse on the market. That way when it comes time to buy, you kind of know what to expect for the dollar that you're paying, right? Normally they're okay with that. Does that make sense is what I like to say a lot. I say it a lot, so that makes sense. So nobody will say yes to that. It's kind of like framing it in the yes direction. There's a lot of people out there that are coaches that advise using what's it called, NLP, neuro linguistic programming, or it's essentially specific word choices, specific question choices, tonality, and body language to help produce a favorable answer, right? So to speak. That's the best way that I could describe that. Instead of saying the word manipulate, because I don't like to use the word manipulate because that's not what we're doing. So you can use specific ways. I personally just kind of get the general objective. I've spitballed it so many times. You have so many conversations after a while. It just kind of becomes natural, and you see the same generic 2-3 taglines. And so, like I said, my tagline for that is just pulse on the market. Keep you a pulse on the market. If they're not looking 6 months out, ideally they're looking a little bit sooner. So okay, yeah. So tell me what I just wanted to follow up, see what your situation was like, see how I could help. Oh, well, I'm actually not really sure. This is my first time buying a house. Me and my wife, she just got a new job, or she's pregnant. We need to buy a bigger home or whatever. Move out of the apartment that we've been renting for 5 years. So this is a unique situation. This is the first time home buyer. Now that is the primary person that I worked with when I originally got into the industry. 2 reasons. 1, because I didn't know anybody, and 2, they didn't know anybody. They were first time buyers. They don't have a realtor. That's why they're at the open house. So I like working with first time home buyers. So right then and there, okay, well, we're not really sure. We're like, oh, well, that's great. Congratulations. I always tell people congratulations when they have decided to purchase a home for the first time, because it's just a fantastic wealth building opportunity. So I imagine you probably got like a million questions, right? Like, how much is it going to cost and things like that. So one of the things I offer people, which I think is going to be really good for you guys, you and your wife, whoever it is a consultation. It takes normally 15 to 20 minutes, but I've seen it go on to about an hour because people ask so many questions. It's really good. Where we talk about the cost, who's involved, how long it takes, what's it take from you guys, different stress levels, as well as kind of figuring out what you guys are looking for. And I always like to come up with a plan of action once we leave the consultation, so that we kind of know whether it's 2, 3, 6 months out, what we're going to do at the time. Normally at that point I say, okay, and so what's you guys' schedule like? Do you guys' weekends better for you, weekdays, and kind of figure out move into a scheduling type of question. So first time home buyers, you can offer that. If the buyer is a little particular about what they're looking for, maybe they're not sure 100%, but they have bought a home before, I still offer that consultation, because that's going to be an opportunity for you to meet with them face to face again. It's going to do one of 2 things. 1, build your credibility. They're going to come to your office and have an opportunity to sit with you, and you can show them value of your knowledge of the marketplace. You can provide homes that they're going to want to see you through the computer, and you can maybe educate them about the process of something if it's new for them, or if it's been a long time, right? And 2, it's going to give them an opportunity to show to you, because you're an agent. You're also an important person, right? So you need to make sure that you're spending your time effectively. That's going to show their motivation to you, how serious they are about actually moving, and how serious they are about working with you. If they're willing to meet with you at your office, chances are they're willing to work with you to buy a house, right? And if they're not, well, maybe you shouldn't be spending time calling them and showing them homes on a whim or opening doors, right? It's just going to be a way better use of your time. So offer the consultations. I have had tons of people buy homes with me that in the beginning said, no, I don't want to meet for a consultation. So by no means am I saying if they don't want to do a consultation, you need to just write off the lead, right? A lot of times I've had people that are just adamant about they don't want to waste their time like that. They already know what they're looking for. This is what they want. Well, that's fine. Why don't I just go ahead and get you set up on those emails like we talked about? Get sent to you daily, weekly. What's your preference? Set them up. Hey, take a look at them. I'll give you a call in 2 days to see what you're thinking, or 3 days. I don't even really give a timeline. Normally I say, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and set you up with these emails. Take a look through them. And so when do you want me to follow up with you to make sure that you're getting them and seeing stuff you like? And ask them the question, okay, well, call me in a week, or honestly, I'll call you. Oh, okay, well, that's fine. I always like to make sure that if they say that they don't want you to call them, right, you can't call them, right? You can. I still call them. However, I know if you're watching this and you are the type of person that's not the type of person to call somebody, to pester somebody like that, if you don't want to do that, then you don't have to call them. You can text them, you can email them, you can follow with them in numerous other ways if they have asked you not to call you. And on top of that, if they've asked you not to call you, chances are, again, they're probably not a lead that you want to spend your time on. I feel like it's important to note that there's multiple instances where I'm telling you that it's okay that these people are not wanting to work with you, whether they want to leave the open house, they don't want to answer the phone, they don't want to work with you, or they don't want you to send them emails, they don't want you to call them, right? There are a ton of people that are just not going to work with you, right? The national average for the Zillow online leads is a conversion rate, right? It's 4%. So chances are, out of every 100 people you get from Zillow, only 4 of them are going to actually work with you, right? That's a low statistic for it's a low conversion rate for a lead source that in our marketplace right now is currently very lucrative and people are profiting very heavily off of it, right? So the game is in the numbers. And so that's why it kind of ties back into what I was saying originally, which is I don't like to do a lot of mega open houses. I'd like to do a lot of smaller open houses. Like I said, 4, 5, 10 a week. We're generating anywhere between 10, 20, 30, 50 leads in a weekend. And that's a lot of people. So if 30 of them, 40 of them, 45 of them say no, that still means 5 people. You just got 5 new buyers that you're working with over the weekend. That's a lot. So just be prepared for that rejection, and that's a pretty common thing, I think, across all lead sources, but just be a lot more comfortable with rejection. Understand that you're coming from a place of service, and it doesn't have to be as hurtful when they decide that they don't want to work with you. Again, it's a numbers game. It's so simple. They don't want you to call you, they don't want you to call you. If not, all right, well, I'll go ahead and set you up with these e-alerts. When you want me to call you Friday, great. Well, on Friday, I'll give you a call just to make sure that you're getting the emails and see what you like. On Friday, once you give them a call, talk to them. If they want to see homes, whatever the script is, whatever the procedure is that you do to stay in the nurture process with the active buyers that you work with. Maybe I'll make a video on that in the future and how to nurture clients. Essentially, right now we're talking about open houses. So this is the process for if the person answered on the first phone call that you made, right? If they did not answer, right, you left them that voicemail saying, hey, I just wanted to ask you a question really quick, give me a call back, right? In that situation, you want to follow up with them, like I said, call, text, and email, either the day after or the next day, or even the day of the open house if you want to. The call, like I said, leaving that voicemail, the text, hey, it's Mustafa from Mustafa from the open house you met at this past weekend at whatever address you want to give it. I like to keep things short and brief, right? So in the text messages, hey, it's Mustafa from the open house this weekend. Wanted to call and I did have called them first, right? So wanted to follow up the voicemail I just left with a text. Give me a call when you can, or do you prefer to talk, text, or email? One of those kind of questions. Do you prefer to talk, text, or email? Is typically the one that gets the best responses from me. Normally they'll say text because that's why they didn't answer in the first place. Sometimes they'll say email. Sometimes they won't respond. Sometimes they'll say wrong number because they gave you the wrong number at the open house. And so now you're stuck with the random guy. I personally have a little auto template that says, oops, sorry about that. Wrong numbers happen, I suppose. If you're ever in the market to sell, give me a call, buy, sell, or rent, whatever, give me a call. So I have something for that too, and I've actually gotten a lead from that as well. So wrong numbers are not necessarily a bad thing. So text, email, hey, it's Mustafa from the open house this past weekend. Wanted to thank you for stopping by and give you a brief introduction of myself. I like to list off maybe 1 or 2 points about my team, my team, maybe my past, kind of my market expertise, so to speak, some sort of information. And then I followed up with so obviously since we met at an open house, you have some interest in real estate. What can you tell me about your situation? And then send them the email, right? Or you can send them an email that says, hey, it's Mustafa. We met at the open house this past weekend. I just left you a voicemail. When's a better time to call? I just left you a voicemail. Do you prefer to talk, text, or email? And any one of those variances, you just want to send them an email that says something like that. Okay, I'm just spitballing these variances because I want you to have a template. Right now, the goal for me for this video is that once you finish watching this, you know everything you need to know to do an open house for free. This should be a free open house. It should cost you $0, right? And ideally you should make thousands of dollars from this open house. So you send them the email. Now, depending on the conversation, this is what's really important to build rapport with the client at the open house, but depending on the conversation you had with them then is going to determine how frequently you should follow up with them after that. If they told you at the open house that they're really not looking more than, they're really not looking to move for the next year or so, it's probably not really good for you to call them the next day and text them the next day and email them for the next 10 days straight. However, if you found out that somebody just found out that they got a job transfer and they need to be in California, or they need to be here in the next 2 weeks, right, wherever you guys are at, they need to be in your marketplace in the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever the situation is, they need to move right now, it's probably going to be better to call them every single day, right? So judge the client from the rapport that you build with them at the open house. That's why it's important to know that the two, again, I keep saying it, but I like to repeat it just to make sure that it's really drilled into you, the viewer's mind, right? Is there's two primary objectives to the open house. Objective number one, get their information, name, phone number, whatever it is. Objective number two, just let them know that you're going to be following up with them, right? So that way, if you're calling them every single day, it's not them getting annoyed. You told them at the open house. And at the open house, if they say, oh, you know what, don't call us, well, then you probably don't need to call them, right? There's no reason to. Why waste our time calling people that are daily not going to work with us, right? So gauge that and follow up with it. I'm trying to think. Outside of that, there's not really anything else I can think of that is important to know about open houses. Let's see, what else? Follow up. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much an open house. That was attempt number 1 at making a podcast. I don't know if this is a podcast because this is technically a video, but I was originally going to make this into a podcast, but I made a whole video, so maybe I'll make a video. But that was my attempt at real estate talk 101.